All right. Sad things are happening, and we're now talking about different sad things than the last time we talked about sad things. Okay. These sad things are even worse than the last ones because this is a team that this is a club that has existed for a long. I mean, how often are we making this video? Seriously, how often do I sit in this chair and it's another club, probably in England, that's like dying? Death's door. It's a problem, right? And I know they're taking steps to try and fix it. Well, they're not taking those steps fast enough. These people own these clubs. They hold them hostage. They try and squeeze more money out of them, and then it dies. And people try and paint it on to the owners from different places, right? Those the wave of Chinese owners. Well, then China decided to cut down on foreign investment, and that kind of screwed those owners over. They couldn't get money out of China unless they wanted to. They try, it's the India, the United States, right? Well, this guy's English. It's just people with enough money to buy football clubs, or that can at least flash enough money to get through the door to buy a football club, have proven pretty consistently that they're not very good at it, unless there are significant guardrails to keep them from either taking advantage of the process or whatever. The club in question is Morecambe. You might recognize them. You might recognize like their badge, right? They've been in League One, League Two for a while, right? They've been a team that I knew if you played FIFA in a certain era, right? And a team that's existed for 105 years, kind of puttering around generally in that area of the football pyramid. They don't really have the firepower to make a run at getting up to the prim, right? But they aren't, they're a big enough town that really loves their team. They're not going to drop too far past the National League, right? Morecambe is just going to be there. Well, now they're not. As of August 5th, which is the day I'm recording this, they are basically paused. They have until August 20th to prove that they're financially going to be able to get through the rest of the season in the National League, the 5th division of England. If they can't, nobody really knows what happens. But they're going to be kicked out of the National League, which means they are now a club without a league, and it's pretty hard to exist that way. Maybe you could lean on the board, but I'm going to go point out something pretty remarkable. Whittingham, the owner, sacked Morecambe's board when they threatened to begin the process of selling the club to a purchasing group called Punjab Warriors. I'm going to catch you up on the rest of that lore later, only to reappoint the board to complete the sale. The board then resigned when the deal fell through, and without directors, there is no conventional recourse to trigger administration. You need a board of directors to trigger administration. I didn't know that legally, but apparently that's what you need. And administration is the financial process of trying to find a way to salvage it before everything just liquidates and it's bankrupt and out of money and you just squeeze the rest of the money you can out of the system and Morecambe dies, right? That is like the actual death of Morecambe. There is no Morecambe after that. There is, however, right now. And the Punjab group is trying to buy them, right? I love it. This is the only picture they can get of Jason Whittingham, by the way. It's like somebody just creeping outside of his house, taking a snapshot from the street when he opens his door. It's got to be annoying if you're Jason Whittingham, but also one of the biggest issues has apparently been the lack of communication. The turmoil's been going on for weeks on end, right? Like he's not really saying a lot or doing a lot other than putting together what was described as a hastily arranged kind of video chat call in which he fired the directors. That's how he actually managed to fire the directors. He lives in Essex, which is apparently not near Morecambe, or at least isn't Morecambe. And so he's very disconnected from all of this, right? There's speculation in one of these articles that he's trying to hold out in order to get more money to settle some personal debts, just to kind of paint a fuller picture of what might be going on here. But I'm interested in the Punjab group, and I want to see if I can find this stuff I was reading about them. There we go. All right, this is an article on the BBC. Culture Secretary calls on Morecambe owner to sell. Earlier this week, the club was suspended by the National League for failing to comply with their rules. The main thing that they failed to comply with that led to their suspension this week is that they're basically out of money, but they aren't even paying the insurance anymore. Like, you have to keep up a certain amount of insurance for players, whatever, in order to participate in these leagues, just the sorts of rules that they have. They also have over £300,000 in unpaid wages, which is huge. That has led to, of course, players leaving. right? Because players, I mean, and we're in the National League here. If a player's not getting their paycheck, they likely can't pay their bills, right? They're not buying Maseratis at this level. They're buying groceries, okay? And if they're not getting over $300,000 worth of wages distributed across the whole team, a lot of the players have left. And the Morecambe fans don't blame them. In one of these articles, the Morecambe fans are talking about how some of these players that have been around for years had to come in and basically say tearful goodbyes. Like, I got to leave. I'm not getting paid. This is my job. I got to go somewhere where I'm going to get paid. This is a team, by the way, that last year was in League Two, which no doubt this has contributed to their financial hardship. Morecambe was relegated out of the Football League this past year. That is also, I'm sure, something that has contributed to players leaving, coaches leaving, right? Because if you're a Football League level player or coach, you're going to hope you can stay in and around that level. It's a difficult transition when, I don't know, your owner isn't hiding, literally. And it's hard to go down to the National League and continue to be successful. This would not be the first club that has been killed by the transition from the Football League to the National League. It is certainly far from the first club that has been financially threatened by that. But the culture secretary, Lisa Nandy, has described the situation as heartbreaking and critical. Because another thing I got, particularly from this article, which the BBC wrote, is totally torn apart how Morecambe decline threatens a whole community, is an idea of the place. This is not the 18th club in the National League from London. Morecambe is a town. It's on the coast. It reads like every Rust Belt town in the United States, right? They had a boom era with domestic tourism that faded. And now, really, it's the football club, particularly in the winter when nobody's going to the beach. The only people buying hotel rooms, going to the restaurants, going to the pubs, right, are away fans. And obviously, Morecambe being in the Football League over the last decade, right, that's a significant contingent of away fans that go on those away days in the Football League, right, that are buying these hotel rooms and everything. And one of the hotel owners estimated that he would lose tens of thousands of dollars over the winter period just because Morecambe's not going to be playing, right? And then it's kind of a grieving process. It's like losing the member of a family that's always been there. Even if you don't see them all the time, when they're not there, you suffer and you feel the loss. I love this. The club's players were sent home because they were unable to train due to a lack of insurance cover, right? The academy has been paused, right? The head of the academy has said that it is a pause on the academy until the 20th, because if somebody's able to come in and change things, that would be great. And again, I'm going to get to that situation. I guess I'm going to kind of end the video with the situation for things potentially to be better. You got the kit man talking about how days used to be better, but at least there was Morecambe, right? And now there isn't Morecambe anymore. Right? There's people that are talking about like, well, it was such a ritual for everybody to get together, go have a beer, stand in the stands. One of these guys had like a heartbreaking, it's a ritual every weekend. In here, we see that football really brings people together. We've seen the happiness taken away from somebody. This is the heartbreaking quote that I needed a second to find. Some people are already asking if, should the worst come to worst, we can still go places together. I mean, come on. That's the sweetest quote of all time. That warms your heart and breaks it all over again when you think about this smaller community where everybody had this reason to get together, and it was an excuse to get together and bond and spend time together. And now you have people asking, well, look, if the club goes down, can we still like hang out, go on these little trips, maybe do this, do that? It's pretty insane. I don't know. It's pretty insane that you end up in this situation. It's foreign to me, obviously, in the United States, where teams just don't financially fail. I mean, the MLS they did, but teams that have this kind of local resonance, they don't fail. This basically never happens, and it is sadly way too common, particularly in England, just because of the forces involved and the number of teams that are trying to compete financially. I mean, this is a 5th division team. 5th division in vast majority of countries is going to be fully amateur, right? You're not dealing with these kinds of financial pressures, this kind of community pressure, which brings us back to the Punjab Warriors. The Punjab Warriors, right? The Punjab Warriors are an investment purchasing group that has been verified as having the funds, even though it took a while. They had to add some investors by the EFL. And they have said that they are ready and financially able to take over. The quick timeline is Whittingham initially said he wouldn't sell, brought the board of directors back to sell. Then he said he found a better deal. That comes from this article in the prolificnorth.co. .uk. He reneged on that deal, claiming to have found an alternative buyer and leaving Morecambe on edge. Now the club's suspended. All the people are saying they're going to keep working until the lights turn off. But here's what the Punjab Warriors claim: that they have paid off Whittingham's £3.8 million, provided the club with $630,000 to pay outstanding debts, and laid an interest-free loan of £1.7 million to cover operating expenses. And they received EFL clearance with this plan. How depressing is this? The administrators would also need to be paid if they did go the administration route, and it's not clear that the club has the assets available to sell in order to be able to afford that. Bro, if you hit the point that you can't even afford administration, I don't know what Whittingham's waiting for, right? Apparently he's got his personal debts to the side. But this paragraph is really all you need to know. This Punjab Warriors group they have an agreement together. They had a framework. They had an understanding of how much they were going to pay and loan the club and pay off the debts. They had the money together, and it was approved by the EFL. You got to take it. I mean, I don't know. I do not know this Whittingham guy personally. I don't know what outstanding debts he has. I don't know. Maybe he feels in the negotiation that he's going to be able to bleed another £1 million out of this group or whatever. But I couldn't live with knowing that there was actually an option out there to save the team and not taking it and letting the club die. Because right now, if you've got the Punjab Warriors out here, and I wouldn't believe it as much if they hadn't already received EFL clearance, which they have, which means they are approved. They have proof of funds. They have the money. They can take over the club. I'm sorry, there's got to be a mechanism in there to enforce the sale. There has to be. If you're not going to have 50+1, at least have a mechanism in there to enforce the sale if somebody is actually suffocating a club. Because unless I'm missing something, this needs to happen. It just needs to happen. And there's all these little promotional events that they're doing to try and keep the club alive a little bit longer. But the truth is, if you don't get to August 20th with a battle plan and the money to meet the requirements of being in the National League, Morecambe is likely going to cease to exist forever, in which case the town is going to take a huge hit as well. We're talking about tens of thousands of people's lives that hang in the balance here. Sell the club, please. I don't know what you're waiting for, but you got like 15, 14 days left to wait. I mean, what negotiating power do you have left at that point? This is just sadly all too familiar and one of the worst I've ever seen, honestly. The more you dig into it, the worse it gets.